upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. I have that song stuck in my head. The Gap Band. Do you just want to get up and dance or something like that? It's insanely catchy. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. That second building landlord needs some paint and ruler. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head. Said oops, upside your head. My other bike batteries aren't. This is the one that's supposed to be waterproof. My others are advertised as not being waterproof, and they don't have this issue.
This is what makes it waterproof. This thin layer of seal.
Oh, that's pathetic. That's fucking
There is
pathetic.
no water inside, so I mean.
Well, you don't know yet. You have hope.
Wait, why is the light blinking? Because there's water inside somewhere.
Or is there? Whoa, we could be very careful there. There's a lot of cells. Duh. This
Well,
is.
shake it.
Shake.
Yeah.
There's 96 cells in there.
You gotta loosen these four or something.
Oh, there's
There's more screws left.
Oh yeah, there's water coming out. Is water coming? Okay.
So this is not liquid resistant.
So shake it, and then if you see water, then you have your answer.
That's lame. These are advertised as liquid resistant.
Yeah.
I'm not vouching for EM3V anymore.
Ooh, there's water everywhere. Oh, I can't.
Oh, that's. I'm not vouching for EM3V anymore. Okay, this.
A lot of water.
That's balls. That sucks.
Yeah, look,
Corrosion?
all of it's wet.
Oh, you gotta be shitting me. What a piece of shit.
It's very well put together, but that's the problem. Is that they didn't seal it really, really good. It's only mildly sealed.
That's shit.
So how bad is it? Everything's
bad.
all wet in here.
Really?
Yeah. See?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Look at
Rossmann repair liquid damage fix? Fix battery?
Every cell is soaked.
Oh my god.
Yeah. You want to blow it out? Oh shit.
See if you can
Be very careful with what you touch. with both.
Yeah. You don't want to get.
Turns on that thing
EMS is all wet.
That's lame. That's really shitty build quality.
I mean, if they advertise that it's liquid resistant. Well, resistant is resistant. It's not waterproof.
That's not resistant at all, though. Where's the resistance?
If you're putting a lot, I mean, if you're putting a lot, like, I don't know, it's you submerged this yesterday. Yeah, with that, if you were speeding, you'd probably put a lot of water in it. That's why I said it depends on how you dry it.
Yeah, it's in the other room. I don't have a camera in there. Okay, what was I doing today? I'm really sad that bike has no water resistance. It's actually pathetic. Everything that I put together is water resistant except for the fucking battery. Hey everybody, how's it going? So today we're going to be working on a MacBook that was sent in. It doesn't have a problem description, but it looks like I already have found it. If you take a look over here, look at this. The moment that I opened it up, I unplugged this little battery cable over here. You know, I usually unplug the battery before I get started work on any MacBook board repair. And there's two connections in the new ones. They actually have the data connection entirely separate from the power connection. So the power connection is over here, and the data connection, which is going to be where the battery communicates with the computer to tell it how full it is or how empty it is, stuff like that, is over here. And that cable is corroded because it looks like liquid got over there. So I'm going to unplug the battery, and I'm going to make the assumption that the reason this customer sent this in is because it doesn't see the battery or it doesn't charge the battery, likely because that connector needs to be fixed and replaced. Let's see if the board turns on at all. So we're going to see that. As you can see, 20 volts, 600 milliamps, fan spinning. So really what needs to happen here is a replacing of this battery cable, an examination of the machine thoroughly to figure out why there's corrosion over here. Because again, I could just replace that cable and clean that area, but I mean, liquid had to get in there somehow, and it most likely leaked in. And if it leaked in there, it may have gotten other areas. I hate these alcohol dispensers, I really do. Let me the tyranny of the alcohol dispenser. Look at this. I don't know what that means, mental. Have you decided whether you want to have a store in your next place? It's kind of like asking if I've decided if I want food in my next lunch. That's a really nastily burned pin. I would want to replace this connector altogether. I don't trust this. This looks really bad. Just shockingly bad. I wouldn't even bother trying to reflow and reuse this. Sometimes I try to reflow and reuse the existing connector, but I look at that pin, man. You know, I could probably, you know, clean the rust up a little bit on that. And it's just going to come back here in a day. Or a month, or right outside the warranty. Oh, John DeComo. Yeah, I have caulk on everything on that bike, but the one thing I didn't put caulk on is the one part that's not liquid resistant. I feel like I should have now. I screwed up by not caulking it. Oh, come on. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. Oh, jeez. Okay, here we go. And, oops, upside your head, said oops, upside your head. Oops, upside your head, said oops, upside your head. Excuse me. Sorry about that last time in Zillow thing. Did you ever look it up? If not, the TLDR, Zillow doesn't make a significant impact in the housing market with real estate. I haven't looked that up yet. I think a lot of it's probably just people FOMOing. Come on. Up, up, down, 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 down. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Now notice this. See how these two pads are missing? There's actually no pads because, as you can see, unconnected. It doesn't actually go to anything. So these pads are NC, the ones that you see that are not really doing anything, NC. It means there's no jumper for me to run because there's nothing actually there. That's why when there's corrosion or anything like that, those pads are going to be the ones where everything comes off first, because there's nothing physically there. So there's no jumper for me to run because there's nothing that is going to. It's not transmitting to anywhere. NC. Could have been nicer with the scraping, admittedly. Yeah. Admittedly, I could have been nicer with some of the scraping there. I wasn't in the hot air mood for that connector today. I was... Now, you're never supposed to take the heat off without also removing the wick. So that was not a smart move on my part, and hopefully you learn from my mistake. I haven't tried the FLIR attachment for the iPhone since I don't have an iPhone. I don't know, Pablo. It depends on whether I feel like it. I'm not feeling it at the moment, to be honest with you. I just murdered another unconnected pad. Kind of feels good murdering unconnected pads. Like, die, you unconnected bastard, die. What happened, guy whose name probably precludes the reason he broke up with his girlfriend? What's going on? Yeah, I'm not good with breakups either. I usually always wind up going back to a bad relationship because I want to save the adversary. Jim Camp's negotiating book really applies to life as much as it does to, business negotiations. It applies to personal relationships very well, too. I always wind up trying to save the adversary, and typically the adversary is the person that I'm supposed to be breaking up with that I don't. Okay, I'm going to take this connector off of a donor board. Paul Daniels is here. Oh no, Snow Chains, I didn't even bother sending the lowball offer. They wanted a 6-month deposit on that place. They actually wanted a 6-month deposit. And they said maybe we could consider 4 months for you. And it's like, yeah, how about 2 months? Because that's 2 to 3 months. That's the standard everywhere. I said, maybe if this place is amazing. If it was amazing, but it's not amazing. The places in New York City are never amazing. They're always shitholes. Paul Daniels is asking a question I don't have the capability to answer right now. I don't have it on the desk. But those boards are the same, besides like some diodes or something over here. Otherwise, except for that, they're almost the exact same boards, so I never particularly care about the difference anyway. Especially since I only have the schematic and board view for one of them. Paul Daniels knew to ask a quick question. A trick question. That sucks, Decoder. Now I heat the board from the bottom instead of the top because heating the board from the bottom means I'm not going to melt the plastic in the connector. Technically you can heat it from the top and not melt it. It's just a more difficult thing to do, and I tend to try to avoid making my life difficult when there's no good reason for it. You're welcome to make your life difficult if you'd like, but I try to keep my life easy as often as I can. Actually, that's a lie. I moved to a space that is way too much money, and I run a business in New York City, so if anything, I actually lied directly to all your faces by saying that. I don't know why, but what compelled me to do such a thing. Guess now you know you can't trust anything that I say. What's your take on new MacBook Pros? I don't know and I don't care. I really don't care about them. I don't care. I don't use MacBooks, so I don't really care about new models. I don't really follow them. Take no interest in them. I don't know. It's a MacBook. Don't really check them out. I don't review them. I don't wait outside a line in the Apple Store. Excited to try it. Don't read blogs, that speculate on the specifications of them. I see it once somebody brings it into repair. And then I still hate it because I don't usually have parts to new machines for several years after they're released. So I'm usually salty about new machines for a pretty long time. What caused Building 7 to fall? Probably Paul Daniels' software. The architects, when they were putting together the building, were likely using Flex Board View or Open Board View when they were doing the initial construction of the building, and it probably missed an archway somewhere or something. So a building that was supposed to be able to take the force of an aircraft was not able to. I actually used my shaky hand against in my favor on that one by pushing forward on the clip and then rolling all the way around as I push down on the board. As I push down on the board, I'm making more contact with the solder pad that needs to be hot, and I'm giving it more time to melt into place. Buying a refurbished laptop a good idea on average? Is dating at bars a good idea on average? Too general a question to really be able to give an answer to. Yeah, it's kind of an impossible answer. That connector's as crooked as a New York City real estate, actually. That's what you... Shaky hand, shaky hand. But every one of those joints looks good to me. Those are happy joints. I did not have the pad be cold. A lot of people solder the pin, but without heating the pad under it, and it results in a cold joint. And we don't have that here. So now I'm going to take this cable that's on the battery that attaches the battery to the machine for the alcohol in the hand. No alcohol in the hand. I don't have any dry skin lotion over here when that happens. So we're going to get another one of these cables to attach this to this. And I'll be right back and we'll see if that works. So just be right back after a message from our sponsors. Insert ad here. Cable?
Cable. What cable?
Battery cable?
For which machine?
A1708.
In new ones in bin.
We have? Okay. Oh, an inventory. Okay, I take them out. Water damage battery repair?
Water battery? No.
Why no?
No.
What? Can you
Your
ultrasonic it?
Your battery?
Yeah.
Ultrasonic your battery? I think it'll be fine once it dries out. It
Can-
stopped flashing.
Can I toss alcohol on it?
Yes.
You think that'll work?
Yes.
Why are you shaking your head no while you say yes? I don't want it to corrode.
I don't want to be responsible for it exploding.
Does alcohol conduct electricity?
You can also tell by the label on the top. You have to try it? Almost for sure. Then they're lying. It's not
It should be in the top, I think.
also, it doesn't make sense.
Maybe not.
CF28. Remove one from inventory. Must remove one from inventory. CF28. Remove 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 from inventory. CF28, 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 remove one from inventory. CF28, remove from inventory. CF28, remove from inventory. CF28, remove from inventory. CF28. Recommendations for desoldering stations, working with mostly automobile electric components. What iron temp do you run for most of these repairs, and what temp do pads start to come off? It really depends on the board, honestly. Like I have my iron set to 840, but if I was working on more sensitive boards, I'd have my iron set to 650 to 700. Support is one way to put Paul Daniels, but so I like the Atten 862 rework station. And Erica does not get any royalties. Thank you. I removed one CF28 from inventory. I also noticed that nobody else here is. That's lame. Have to have a meeting about respecting the inventory system. See, thank you very much, Parzvl. Parzival Yuwu. That's an interesting name. Parzival Yuwu. Yuwu. The stream brought to you by Raid Shadow Legends for £2 from the Coder. I've never played that game. Is it any good? Okay. Let's see if it sees the battery. This computer needs a serious cleaning. The screen is dirty. The keyboard is dirty. The insides are dirty. Alright, it now sees the battery where it did not see the battery before. So the issue with this computer is that there was corrosion on the connector responsible for the battery speaking to the machine. We scraped that off the board after moving the connector. We scraped off the corrosion, and we replaced the connector with another one. It's not the most fun thing to do if you don't have a steady hand, which I most certainly do not anymore. Considerably worse than what it used to be. However, you don't need to have a perfectly steady hand to solder a connector. One of the things I hope you guys pick up on is that I will come up with interesting and creative ways to get around it. So, if my hands keep swinging out to the right, well, I'll figure out a way to push on the pin in the board in a way where moving out to the right actually means that I'm avoiding the plastic part of the connector, which I don't want to burn, while simultaneously ensuring that that tip, which is very small, has enough time to heat up the pad on the board in addition to the pin to ensure I'm getting a good joint. Also, if you have an unsteady hand, one thing that helps make it steady is if you push down. Because if you're doing this, well, if you're stuck pushing down, then there's less for you to shake. There's resistance. And you do need to push down on the board in order to get the heat from your iron onto the pad, but you also need to push down on the board in order to get the connector to stay flat on the board, which is something that I need to do anyway. And it's going to help me keep my hand steady enough for long enough that I can get the connector on the board. As you can see from the schematic and the board view for this particular MacBook, on this MacBook, there is a connector for the battery that has an SM bus data line. You have the clock line on pin 2, and you have the data line on pin 3. And the rest are not connected pins. Not connected, not connected, not connected, not connected. Another thing to understand here is that the not connected pins are going to come off the board a little bit easier because they're not actually attached to anything that is going to absorb the heat. So those pins, especially if you're scraping, those pads are going to come off the board immediately. However, since those pads are not actually moving anything, there's nothing, nothing really going to any other part of the board through those pins, it doesn't matter as much. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, for cosmetic purposes, I prefer that the pads stay on the board for cosmetic purposes. But if you're not having the best day and you manage to knock some of them off, it's not the end of the world because they literally don't go anywhere. It's kind of like if you have a door in your house and the doorknob doesn't work properly, but that door literally goes to nowhere. There's a wall behind it. You likely won't care if that doorknob doesn't work on that door because there's a concrete or brick wall right behind it. It's not really something that matters. And over here, you can see that these data lines over here for this is going to go straight to what I believe is the system management controller, which is over here on the other side of the board. This is the good old-fashioned SMC over here, and it's also going to go to the battery charging chip. The battery charging chip is going to want to know things like, let's say, is the battery fully charged? Is there any point to continue charging it? Or is it dead so that we know so that we can start sending it some charge? It's also going to want to communicate with the battery so it can understand things like cycle count and all these other things that people like to know about their battery. Now it turns on. And what we have to do now is take everything out of this computer to make sure that it's clean. If liquid was able to get over there, you know that on the other side of the board there's going to be corrosion somewhere. Maybe corrosion is hiding in the trackpad. Maybe corrosion is hiding on the SSD or in any other part of the computer. And we want to make sure when we give this back to the customer that they don't come back here ever again unless they screw it up. I don't want there to be some little piece of water that's hiding somewhere in this computer that's going to then cause it to come back here when it shouldn't come back here. I don't want this to ever come back here unless they spilled something again, which hopefully they won't. We hope they learn their lesson. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now. You woo woo woo.